Folakunle Oshun was born in Ibadan, Nigeria. He is an artist-curator based in Lagos, Nigeria. Holds in Bachelor in Visual Arts since 2007 and Masters in Art History 2012 from University of Lagos. He is the initiator and artistic director of the Lagos Biennale. He received a Potsdam Curator Award 2017. He is a curator at Pinakothek in Munich and advisor for the Africa 2020 season in French.
Okay, in his artistic practice, he examines the impact of politics and history on contemporary life. He focuses on sculpture and he's exploring alternative dimensions of human sensibility with emphasis on sound. And from his Instagram and social media pages, I think he likes black and white colors. As we can see today, he's dressed on black and white. And for food, I think he loves jollof until he made a TED talk about it, about the origin of the dish. So that's all. So maybe he should tell us, does he like white and black and jollof rice?
Okay, cool. So I'm really gonna do this from the top of my head and just share my experiences in my practice as an artist, as a curator, if I would, say or take that title. I might not be saying the things that you would expect, because that's exactly where I am in my life. And I think the title of this session is The Artist and Self. And that sort of thinking really resonates with me, because I think a lot of times we get into our professions, especially as artists, and it becomes harder and harder to sort of separate your personal life from your practice, and you become so involved, so ensconced in your artistic persona and career that it begins to affect your personal life and your interactions with other people. At some point in my life, I was having horrible interactions and relationships with people, even people who were working with me, because I could be really passionate and obsessive and possessed with work and projects that I started treating human beings like projects. So everybody was a statistic, everybody was a means to an end. And if I wanted to achieve something, though laudable, though ambitious, though sometimes even novel, somebody was going to get the short end of the stick. And so I think a starting point is to address that and fully understand that it's great to be passionate about what you do. It's great to be involved and give your everything, and totally always be an advocate for that, for following your passion, because my entire practice has been about doing the things that I am passionate about. But at the same time, I like to say that curating is a man-made profession. It's a scary, scary profession. I have been around great curators and I'm scared for their lives. I am naturally, primarily an artist. Curating for me came out of necessity, and it was really amplified by the Lagos Biennial. So I really haven't earned my stripes or gone through the ropes that career curators, would go through. But because of the intensity of my artistic practice and the demands of a biennial, I just learn on the job, and it's a full-time job. So there's like no breathing space. It's like doing a crash course every day in a particular subject. And that got me the proximity to people who were doing this full-time for so many, many, many years. One of them was the late PC Silva. And I would just look at this woman and ponder and be like, is this real? Like, it's breakfast in Tokyo, lunch in New York, dinner in London. Like, this is madness. At the time, she was like at her peak before she fell ill. She was returning 70% of the funding that the Center for Contemporary Art in Lagos got every year. 70% of all the funding was going back to the funders because she didn't have time to execute those projects. And it was just insane seeing her running from exhibition to exhibition, from city to city, from panel to panel. And why I say it's a man-made job is this. If you think about curating, it's almost diabolical, because somebody stays in their studio making work, making research, living this crazy artist, starving artist life. And you just sit down there as a curator and you select and you say, this is this, and you write in context and you make your own research. And because there's so many fluffy people out there, from the outside, it could be seen as a really disgusting profession. Like, what exactly are you doing? What stake do you have in this? Why do you get so much credit for contextualizing my work? And because I stand on the fence, sort of on the divide, living the best of both worlds, I have like a very privileged view, and I see so many altercations and battles between artists and curators and people in the art world, and always sticking the finger at curators. I'm like, what exactly are you doing? And if you look historically to like humanity, early man, you had such labels as hunter, gatherer, and those evolved to professions like, say, fishing, and then you had people who were doing accounts and keeping the books, and then you had like philosophers, and then poets, and we had all these divisions in society to make the society work, but it took a while before we got to a point where art making became a part of our minds that we wanted to explore. Initially, it was always just survival. You gather, you farm, you eat, you hunt animals, you build houses, and that was humanity. And then the industrial age came with so many people on the production chain, and the idea of a manager came, and GM and MD and all these hierarchies. And somewhere in the corner was the clerk in the museum documenting dates. It was basically a historian, an art historian who knew so much about art history and world history and like all sorts of historic events. The curator was never really a prominent role. It was just a guy who was in the back room of the museum documenting, labeling, archiving. And then all of a sudden they were like, hey, we're tired of being in the back room. We have so much knowledge, we're so vast in art history. We have a great network because we know all the artists. Let's go out there. And since it's the age of conceptual art, ideas rule, and truly ideas rule. And I see artists getting frustrated because artists are used to making and getting their validation from how well they can turn their skill and show that they're talented. And for a long time, because I did the normal art school training, fine art, British syllabus where you're learning perspective and basically classical art in Lagos at the university, and coming out of university, I was super frustrated because all I knew how to do was draw and paint and sculpt. And people like Brissy Silva were always talking contemporary art and this and ideas and post this and post liberal this. And I thought to myself, what is all these jargons? Why do I have to incorporate all of this into my work? Why isn't anybody giving me a medal for creating a beautiful sculpture? And then I got drawn into all that banter and then went to do a master's degree in art history. And then I took another wrong path, which was getting obsessive with art theory and terminology without fully understanding where they were coming from. And then I took a third wrong move, which was merging both. So it's different, will I say, time frames or periods or levels of one being totally ignorant of anything that had to do with critical thought, and I was just a maker, and then plunging myself into getting all this knowledge, and then trying to understand where the knowledge was coming from, because every idea that is traded in the world of art is coming from real life, and so you're sucked into it, and real life becomes art for you. Because if you talk about political art, if you talk about whatever issue is rocking the world right now, every single terminology is borrowed in art writing, in critical thinking and art making. It's the same terminologies that will be used in the Senate floor in any country that we use in art circles. And so I married both ideas. I was like, art is life and life is art. And I'm going to be a great curator because I understand life, and I will use that to tailor my curatorial artistic practice. It's the same terminology, if you think about, let's think of a popular one like post-colonialism, for example. I felt that if I would immerse myself in the subject, read up on it, understand, have interactions with people who were super knowledgeable, I could transfer that into my own research work. But what I found was that my prejudice from all the knowledge that I was learning was affecting my interactions with people. So now I'm at that phase of my life where I'm beginning to separate it. But what I've been saying, all along is it's good to live these experiences that we create from, but be careful not to allow these experiences get into your head and begin to becloud your judgment. Nobody here is going to decisively change the world. And even if you do change the world, which is a challenge to everybody, how do you chip in your own 2 cents and, make a difference? You're not going to change history. You're not going to change the pain that people feel about certain issues. You might open up channels for conversation, but it's important to detach ourselves from the subjects that we deal with, from the work that we do, just for your own sanity and to keep your judgment clear, to keep your thinking clear, and to have a more scientific approach to the subject of curating. It might seem impassionate, but I tell you, the most passionate thing is to get up every day, get on your desk, and do your work. Like, keep learning, keep researching, keep doing whatever you do, keep making, keep networking, but that is where your passion shows, in how much you put into your work and how inquisitive you are, and not necessarily getting mentally, emotionally attached to the subjects that you research. There are artists who cannot create except they get emotionally attached to their work. I've been there and I don't want to be there anymore. This is like very personal for me. And it's probably great to be in that moment while you create, because art is spiritual, art is emotional. And for the creative process, or for the, what's the word? When you conceptualize, for that process, it is great to be, you know, really immersed and emotionally attached to your work. But at some point, I think it's important to detach and, you know, just lean back and allow the work have a life of its own, allow people interact. Do not try to control how people perceive your work, or how people interact, or like don't play God with your work, because at the end of the day, you've given a piece of you voluntarily, and people are going to interpret it however they want to. And as an artist, that is hard enough. As a curator, it becomes much more complicated, because you are now dealing with the lives, the livelihood, the artistic energy of so many people. And let's not get it twisted. There's a lot of just hard-boiled administrative work. You're just a glorified project manager at the end of the day, you know, that is, you know, attempting to be intellectual. Not to downplay the curatorial position, but a great deal of your time is going to be spent on writing proposals, and writing bios, and just writing spreadsheets, administrative work that can run anybody crazy. I'll talk a bit about the Lagos Biennial and how that started. I've never said this anywhere, but from the onset, the Biennial was just a piece of art for me. It was just making art. It was like a joke. And then I realized, oops, this is curating, because so many other people had a stake in it. And when I say so many other people, it's about 10 people who were on the team. And then that grew to sponsors, and then that grew to the venue, then it grew to volunteers, then it grew to interns. Then the hardest part is the artists, because artists are crazy. We're a bunch of crazy people. And you're dealing with all this energy, sometimes negativity, sometimes competition, sometimes trauma that has never found expression, sometimes just excitement. And when I say this is a man-made profession, it's like nobody should ever have to deal with such pressure, but you put yourself on the spot by taking that title, curator. It means, oh, okay, you are the Mr. God in this room. You're the one who can solve all the problems, who has all the answers, who knows how my work should hang, whether it should be indoor or outdoor, who knows what color I should have used, who knows in what context I should frame it. Is this pre or post this? You know, you're the guy who should have all the answers. And at some point I said, wait a minute, I'm not this person. I really don't care. I really honestly don't care about you or your work. And it's a hard place to come to. Like, I am more concerned about the ideas that we're collectively pushing, and that your ideas resonate with my ideas. So we are co-creating. But to take that God position as, oh, now I am Mr. Curator and you are my minions, is the most dangerous thing that anybody, any curator can do. It's the most dangerous form of thinking. There's a lot of fancifulness in the art world and curating. I mean, you think about auction houses like Christie's and Sotheby's and the kind of money that they move. And then you think about your local art institution and just the $5,000 you're looking for mobility fund, and somebody's selling a painting for $12,000. In 2018, I was at Art Basel in Hong Kong. And on the first day of the fair, Bill Gates bought a painting from de Kooning for $36 million. That's the budget for the last documenter, like all of the whole documenter and all its noise. That's the entire budget, one painting. And I look at this painting because I saw it physically. I could do that painting in my dreams. I'm like, this is not, there's something wrong. This, like, we're all caught up in this madness. And so for me, doing a biennial is not really about Lagos or all the things we wrote on the website. It's about putting a spanner in this wheel and saying, you know, this is just wrong. You know, it's just purchasing agency for oneself. And however you can do that, to have a voice, to make a difference, to make an impact in your world, it doesn't have to be curating or art. It could be driving an Uber and talking to everybody who comes into your car, making your society better somehow. Yeah.
So, like, what are your sources of inspiration and motivation to keep, you know, like pushing through this industry, and you know, like staying on course, even, you know, like all these setbacks, like, you know, like the racial issues in Europe and all that? Like, how do you handle that? Like, how do you keep pushing forward?
Okay, thank you. My motivation is you're asking for too much honesty. My motivation is having a voice. I swear, like, is being able to speak to power about sensitive issues casually. You know, casually, like we do this all day, like you should know. If you would go to my Facebook page, there's a post, the most recent post I put up yesterday, it's just there. The British Museum is asking for a curator to sort of reassess the galleries and you know, the labels they have for certain institutions. Like, and on the first day of work, we return everything you stole to Egypt. Let's start from there.
Yes.
And it's not, yeah, I'm done with people harvesting my anger. I'm the angry guy and being the African guy who is doing a performance naked and then he's like, oh, I'm in chains. No, I'm like, let's just do this casually. Like, this is what you should know. Like, in the least, this is come on, guys, come on. Like I said, I'm on a journey. I'm in a moment. I really am trying to understand the world. There are friends who I have who feel, oh, you're becoming too European, you're becoming too intellectual. You should, you know, work on more African themes. You should, you know, be about the homeland. And, you know, I have an answer to everything. I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm really concerned about how, or really interested in how the world works and how we got here. And I'm really curious to know if the solution to the problems of the African continent lie specifically in Africa, or if there are answers that we can pick up from other places. So yeah, it's a journey from